Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and let's see how this battle goes. So I said that I was going to review a Kricketune battle if you submitted it for Fan Fridays. Well, here's the thing. I got a ton of submissions, so I'm just going to make its own video, and maybe we can also watch a lot more cool things than like 3 Kricketune battles for Fan Fridays, because this Fan Fridays had some pretty awesome stuff going on. So we have a fairly ideal setup that the opponent going to be running Blaziken. Well, Blaziken gets completely destroyed by Trick Room, and Rayquaza, it does pose a bit of threat with the extreme speed, but overall, I think this is kind of the ideal idea of what you want to see. You know, single focus, or at least no double focus, onto the Kricketune. Gothitelle survives. Kricketune, Focus Sash blows it up, and then you can go with the Endeavor. Endeavor is going to hit onto the Rayquaza, and that's really it. So now we're good to go at this point. Gothitelle gets Trick Room up, and everything has worked out how we want it to. So now we have Kricketune using Endeavor on the Blaziken. Blaziken, because of the speed boost, now definitely going to be like the slowest Pokemon, and then the Rock Slide, minimum 1 damage, going to pick up Rayquaza and Blaziken. Now Rayquaza didn't go for the extreme speed. That's okay, because I mean, like, it just still shows that against non-priority, and just if the opponent, maybe he just wanted Rayquaza to go and knock out the Gothitelle, so this was something that ended up happening instead. And then it's Deoxys Dragonite, and now here's what I was also wondering. Now, if we have a Kricketune, maybe we could have Kricketune just go for another Endeavor and then have Gothitelle hit the Pokemon, and now we're already at like a 3-for-0 in this situation. Kricketune might get finished off by the other opponent's Pokemon, but then we're in a 1-for-3 and you have Trick Room advantage, so that could be something pretty serious to consider. Psycho Boost is going to finish off the Kricketune right there. That's pretty much what we're expecting, but the Perish Song is up, and now there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with the Perish Song. You can use you can have Gothitelle use Trick Room again if you anticipate your Pokemon going down. Now that way, if you bring in a Pokemon like Manectric, see, this is why I was confused. I saw Manectric on the team. Manectric isn't going to be the fastest Pokemon on the field anymore in most situations because of the breakdown of Trick Room. So maybe you can have Manectric use Protect, Gothitelle use Trick Room again, and if Gothitelle doesn't get knocked out, you know, Perish Song is still up, but now you also have a fast sweeper on your team, and you can maybe try to reconvert like that. Or you can also do something like this. Gothitelle is going for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide gives that chance to flinch, and that's actually pretty silly. And then we have just a Hidden Power. So Deoxys is faster, Hidden Power is going to outspeed the Dragonite and just destroy it after you break that multi-scale with the Rock Slide. So that's actually pretty interesting, and then it got me thinking. What about Dunsparce? You bring in Dunsparce as your third Pokemon. That Serene Grace Rock Slide flinch means that you might actually have a chance to completely flinch out your opponent until the Perish Song wears off and they still have 1 Pokemon. So even if like all the Pokemon go down, you have the last Pokemon on the field, you win through the Perish shenanigans, and that's going to be game. Also, it looks like Togekiss is another Pokemon, like if Trick Room wears off, if you stall out the Trick Room, you just come in for that flinch chance, and then you eventually either win through damage, or you win out through the Perish Song working. So this kind of shows like the initial idea that I had is possible, even though I thought it was a bit outlandish. So let's go and find us another battle. Let's search the code, and this one is going to be from Carson. Carson always bringing us some really fun stuff. And for our next battle, we have Carson. He's always reliable. He can pull through with some shenanigans. So we're going to see what he does. He has the Togekiss as well, and a Sableye. So I guess trying to minimize any kind of retaliation and still having a chance of a late game. So Rotom and Empoleon going to be the open for the opponent. And Empoleon could be a bit of a threat with the Aqua Jet. Sometimes they run it, and that could be a problem with the whole Endeavor shenanigans. Or Rotom's going to Will-O-Wisp on the Kricketune. And what's Empoleon going to do? Because this could actually be very bad for Kricketune if it doesn't end up getting hit. And yeah, so Gothitelle ends up taking the Scald, and Kricketune Endeavors nothing. So that could be a problem with the strategy right there, that if they don't focus out the Kricketune, then you could maybe be in some problems. But the Trick Room does go off regardless. Leftovers is going to heal up for the Gothitelle. I was thinking you could like Lumberry, Leftovers, or Mental Herb, depending on how much you need that Trick Room. Lumberry means you can't be put to sleep, and then Mental Herb means you can't be taunted out of it. So that's going to be the Protect on the Gothitelle, trying to get that stall going, but Struggle Bug going to hit both opponents and just do a little bit of damage, but it's also going to drop special attack. So Struggle Bug is like Snarl for Bug-type Pokemon, and that's going to be Ice Beam onto the Kricketune. Not doing a lot of damage though. Rotom going to Will-O-Miss on the Gothitelle because of that Protect, and now Kricketune, you know, he's not in that sweet spot of getting the setup, but we are going to see how you salvage one of these battles apparently. So yeah, the battle is going to be 15 turns. So it's actually going to be quite a long battle, and we're going to see if this works. So Struggle Bug just kind of reducing any of the opponent's power. Like Rotom's not going to be doing damage, and Empoleon's not going to be doing damage, so at least it is a kind of fallback with that Struggle Bug. I do like that tech, and Gothitelle is just going to go the Rock Slide under Trick Room, and maybe something's going to happen here. So we're dropping damage, and we have Flinch Chance, and that's going to be the Flash Cannon. I would also just maybe try to set up a Perish Song immediately if you don't have that damage going on. At least try to trade the two, switch out Gothitelle in the last turn, have something happen. I don't know what could go on. So Gothitelle takes the burn, and I mean, at least you have Trick Room up, so you can do things like that. Like the support Kricketune is being somewhat successful. Maybe Calm Out on Gothitelle in this situation would work out. But overall, you know, Kricketune actually getting low now. So maybe you can get a good Endeavor off, and if you can punish with the Gothitelle just enough. So there's the Endeavor. That's going to go onto the Empoleon, and then the Rock Slide from the Gothitelle, but Empoleon's going to dodge it. Not that it was like going to knock out Empoleon or anything, but it does get rid of that Flinch Chance, and then Brick Break onto the Gothitelle. So right now, just not really much is going on. And Volt Switch, is that going to hit Kricketune? So Kricketune does go down to the Volt Switch, but at least one Endeavor was going off, and now we're going to get a fairly clean field, and Gothitelle just being super tanky in this situation. So Scizor comes out, and how is Scizor going to do against the... Well, actually, because of the Volt Switch, Carson has a chance to get the counter pick right here, and if that is Will-O-Wisp on the Sableye, I think this is going to work out pretty well. So Togekiss actually comes in, decides Flamethrower is going to be a better way of handling this Scizor, and Gothitelle still chilling. So now we're going to see Togekiss and, wow, bringing the Fairy-type Pokemon into the double right here is going to be pretty crazy. So Gothitelle is going to Protect, he's going to try to scout out the moves right there, and Empoleon's going to go for the Scald. So Scald, that's going to hit the Togekiss, and then we have to worry about that, oh, Swords Dance. I was going to say, do we have to worry about the Bullet Punch? No, Tanky Scizor wants that Swords Dance. And then Heat Wave from the Togekiss. So Heat Wave from Togekiss, going to pick off the Empoleon, going to be enough damage to... Actually, no, doesn't take out Empoleon. What? That has to be Assault Vest on the Empoleon. Did not take that much damage. That's crazy. But Scizor does go down. Gothitelle, the burn being fairly frustrating on the Gothitelle, but at least being able to get some kind of safety behind it. And that's going to be the Trick Room reset. So Gliscor now coming in. And Gliscor is going to eat that Heat Wave, but Gliscor avoids the attack this time. Never mind. So Empoleon finally going to go down, and Gliscor does dodge Heat Wave. So now we have to see what Gothitelle is going to bring. And knock off, ooh, knock off on Togekiss. Going to remove that Choice Scarf, and going to remove a lot of speed. Gothitelle is just going to Rock Slide. So, a little bit of damage, a little bit of support. Critical hit, never mind, like, no damage whatsoever. And then the Leftovers is going to come through. So now we just kind of have to wait to see what happens. Now, Togekiss is in a decent position. He hasn't Scarfed anymore, so now I can actually make some conversions. Rotom, though, is going to be very frustrating. Like, the opponent has a lot of tankiness right now to beat up. So Air Slash still going to outspeed Rotom, trying to get that flinch in there, and Gliscor going to throw down the Toxic onto the Togekiss. Togekiss now on timer, as well as Gothitelle. And what are we going to see? Rotom with the Volt Switch. So Rotom doesn't have Thunderbolt, has like Volt Switch, Hydro Pump shenanigans maybe, but it's still going to be a lot of damage. And then Gothitelle's Dark Pulse, that's going to Gliscor for a small amount of damage, and then the Leftovers going to heal up that Rotom. So I mean, we do have Sableye, we still have decent, like Togekiss is going to go down here really soon. Gothitelle is being very tanky, might be able to get that Trick Room back up for the Sableye, which could be interesting. And overall, a lot of just stall aspects in this battle. Like, it isn't the sudden rush down. Like, we've seen the strategy work about as expected, you know. We get that double knockout in the second turn from all the setup shenanigans, and then we just wait for the perish. But now this is what happens when just too tanky, nothing's gonna happen. So Togekiss goes down to the Volt Switch, and now all we have to do is bring in the Sableye and just see what happens. So Dark Pulse, getting that Gliscor pretty low though. So Gliscor, with that Poison Heal, going to be pretty safe. Might also have that Protect to just get a lot of its health back. And Gothitelle staying around half health. Burn's going to take a little bit of health away, but pretty crazy stuff. So there's the Poison Heal, there's the burn damage, and now we're also in one of those situations where there's so much like ending stuff going on. We have leftovers, we have burn, we have heal, we have all sorts of craziness, and that's just going to be straight into the Mega Sableye. Doesn't want the Toxic, doesn't want any kind of status shenanigans, and he's going to start going for some kind of setup potentially. And Gliscor, as predicted, there's the Protect, trying to get as much health back on its side as possible. And Sableye, free Calm Mind for Sableye. It's going to make it work. So yeah, this battle just, it's still salvageable, you know. At the worst case scenario, you're playing Trick Room 3v4. That's possible to win. So Rotom ends up Will-O-Wisping itself every freaking time there is a Magic Bounce on the field with that Rotom, or not with the Sableye. Some status is going back to the opponent. Almost guaranteed. It's like one of those things that, you know, if it isn't the Mega Sableye, you can't not risk that. And at the same time, you know, you have to find out in some way, and if you don't find out, you lose a turn or you get status to the face. So you're lose-lose when you go up against Mega Sableye when you're packing some kind of form of status or stall. And that's going to be Gliscor with the Earthquake. Rotom's going to be able to dodge the Earthquake. And Gothitelle now going to take some damage. Gliscor does have a good amount of power. Gothitelle, I think that's put down into a lethal range. Rotom going to try to do some damage as well, and that's going to be Dark Pulse onto the Gliscor. And is there going to be Sableye Dark Pulse punish? Is that going to hit Gliscor as well? Yes, and Gliscor finally goes down. Now it's just a couple more turns, but we are going to most likely lose our Gothitelle this turn. And then it's just going to be the Rotom Sableye battle, but we know Rotom doesn't have enough damage, and it's burned, so Sableye is looking pretty good on this one. All he has to do is recover up, Dark Pulse out, and that's going to be the win. And Gothitelle does go down to the burn in the end. Too much damage to deal with. And now we just kind of have to get through this kind of stall aspect. So Rotom with the Hydro Pump. That's its highest damage move. Fairly inaccurate as well. Sableye is going to recover up most of that. That early Calm Mind doing work. So hit points are going to be restored. So yeah, at least in this battle, like to review, to critique the Kricketune, it didn't get focused, so the focus sash didn't get procced. I guess that's one problem. Like if I publicize this strategy, it's not going to take anyone off guard. They're going to look at that Kricketune, they're like, he's immediately going to Endeavor. I'm either going to have to like status him out, or I'm just going to play around the Kricketune. Because normally like anyone else would see the Kricketune as a free KO. So now we're just kind of waiting on that. Kricketune did get a decent Endeavor out. That Empoleon was super tanky though, and I do like the Struggle Bug tech. I think that does make it to where it's more salvageable if there are some problems. And like I said, you don't have to use Gothitelle in the doubles aspects. That really any Trick Room Pokemon could work. The Shadow Tag just works with the Perish Song really well. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. And Rotom, you know, now it's just like burn versus recover versus all those things. Rotom's just going to go for the Protect though. So Rotom actually been sitting on that Protect instead of any kind of hard sustain. Sableye not going to get much off of that Dark Pulse. And Rotom ends up just losing health off of that Protect because you gain 1/16, but you lose an 1/8 because of the burn. And are we finally going to see it? Okay, the opponent ends up forfeiting right there. So it was enough, you know. As you can see, this is the second played battle from Carson. So at least it has a 50% win rate. And that's something. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We saw it really succeed, and we saw the Sableye come back afterwards. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you all have a nice day.